here. I don't know where that water's going, but it's really cheap. Does anybody shop at like Petro Canada or Walmart? Good for you. I don't either. But if you go to Petro Canada or you go to Walmart, Nestle flats of 24 bottles of water is like $6. They're like less than $1 a bottle, and people are running in and scooping it up, and they're like, I got a deal. A deal on whose back? A deal? Who is suffering for your deal? You know, we are all suffering for those deals. Beautiful, healthy water being trucked out of Chilliwack and sold for cheap is not a deal to me. And it's not a deal to my son or his children someday. It's not a deal. If it is a deal, it's a bad one. And we had Chilliwack water in my community for years. Chilliwack water was beautiful until maybe a couple of years ago when they started running chlorine through it. And I brought that to my grandma, and my grandma's from a settler family in Rosedale. She's from the Monroe family in Rosedale. And she said, well, you know, we used to get our water right out of Dunville Creek. You know where Dunville Creek is at Annis and Yale? And she said when the first scare came through that water was contaminated, they'd bring out a big bucket of chlorine and just throw it in the creek. And in unlimited amounts, oh yeah, more's better, and we couldn't even drink the water, she said. You know, so some of them went to well water and that. But I mean, if we've come a long way, you know, at least we understand how to regulate what we're putting in our bodies, and it's only going to get better with maybe more understanding and more willingness from our children and our grandchildren to help make it a better place and keep ourselves healthy. A friend of mine asked this. I'm just going to go on forever, I guess. A friend of mine who's she's Mohawk, and she's a very strong woman, and she's really into the academic side of governance. She says, if we are a reflection of the land and our health is increasingly worse, then what does that mean for the land? And I said, you know who was here first? The land was here first, right? And I think the land's going to be here a lot longer than we are. And some of the species that have been here for, you know, tens of millions of years, they're going to carry on. And we're, you know, if anybody's a reflection, right? Maybe also in a cyclical kind of world that we live in, the land is also a reflection of us. Because we're so much a part of it, and it's so much a part of us. So the land is sick, and the people are also sick. I'm glad you're strong enough and well enough to be here today. They always say whoever's meant to be here is here, and I'm grateful for you to be here today. The song that I wrote for water that came from this Nestle issue is called Water War. And we drove through California a couple winters ago. Last winter. Was it last winter? It was just last winter. And we saw those farms that are just dust. And there's tractors parked in the fields and signs of desperation by the highways that are like, look what the government did to us. Look what the government did to us. We are not victims, we are survivors. How do we move forward with that? Right? We acknowledge where we're at, and we use the tools we have of the day to get to a better place. In music is truth. And I love art for that. Art speaks the truth and people can digest it. If we're standing around yelling these things, sometimes people don't want to listen. You know, I commend those of you who stand on the front lines and share that confrontational message. I don't have the strength to do that. I would rather not do that because I don't like the bad feelings that people put on from their guilt. So, you know, like my hands are up to you, Tietlin Spath, and the ones who follow and carry on. I write music, I draw pictures, and I work behind a desk to kind of make these things, you know, fight this fight. So Water War. We're gonna sing it together today, okay? We're gonna sing it together.